or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Dzień dobry. This is Joanne Yanitsky, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the April 9th, 2026 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Well, spring is finally in the air. I've got my plants out on the front porch, and the sunshine is peeking in and out. We're going to get some April showers, but it's all good because I think spring is finally here. I hope everyone is doing well, and let's jump right in to this week's Am-Pol Eagle. It's back to the regular format, so I'm going to start with Polish news bites today. World Cup defeat sparks uncertainty for Polish football, or as we call it in this country, soccer. Poland's national football team suffered a dramatic 3-2 loss to Sweden in a World Cup playoff, ending its hopes of qualifying for the 2026 tournament. The defeat has triggered uncertainty about the future of star striker Robert Lewandowski, who hinted he may retire from international football. The closely contested match saw Poland equalize twice before conceding a late goal in the 88th minute. The result extended Poland's long winless streak in Sweden and marked a disappointing end to the qualification campaign. Following the match, Lewandowski, Poland's all-time leading scorer, posted a reflective message suggesting a possible farewell. While he later clarified that no final decision has been made, the statement has fueled speculation about the end of an era for Polish football or soccer. Poland returns to debt markets. Poland has re-entered international debt markets. The government plans to issue between 10 billion euro and 12 billion euro in foreign bonds this year, following a recent 3.25 billion euro bond sale. The move is part of a broader strategy to diversify funding sources and finance ongoing public spending, including defense and social programs. Analysts view the bond insurance as a sign that Poland remains an attractive borrower, supported by its relatively strong economic fundamentals compared to other European countries. At the same time, increased borrowing raises concerns about long-term debt sustainability. Poland has expanded spending in response to security concerns and economic pressures, and continued reliance on external financing could expose the country to shifts in global interest rates. Poland maintains social spending despite pressures. Poland's government confirmed it will maintain its 2026 budget plans despite rising fuel prices and broader geopolitical uncertainty. Finance Minister Andrzej Domański stated that key social programs, including annual retirement bonuses and child benefits, will remain unchanged. Economists note that Poland faces a delicate balancing act, maintaining generous welfare policies while sustaining fiscal discipline in a period of external shocks. The country's strong growth trajectory in recent years provides some cushion, but analysts warn that prolonged energy volatility could strain public finances. We've got some lovely photographs right on the front page, and the photos are by Peter Sloan. The first one is a beautiful Easter photograph. The church is St. Stanislaus Church. And there's the empty tomb, the risen Christ, a priest is in the at the lectern podium. I'm not sure what to call it. Flowers, lilies, hyacinths, of course. I can only imagine how wonderful those hyacinths smell. And then below that is another Easter scene at St. John Gualbert Church in Cheektowaga. There are two altar kneelers inside of the tomb, and it looks like there's a body in the tomb covered with a shroud. So this may have been taken before sunrise services on Easter. Kind of hard to tell. Then there is a photograph of Bishop Michael Fisher of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Buffalo blessing baskets on Holy Saturday at St. Stanislaus Church. And he's got some Boy Scouts standing, I guess, behind him. He's facing the people in the front row of pews with their baskets, and the Boy Scouts are behind him. I guess they're kind of a little honor guard. And then the last photograph is of Bishop John Mack of the National Catholic Church, and he immerses the Paschal candle in holy water at Holy Mother of the Rosary Cathedral in Lancaster. Photo also by Peter Sloan. There was so much activity going on last weekend. It was hard to know where to start first. It was just marvelous. I had family bring me my biale borscht, and boy, did I enjoy that. Now, there's another article on the front page, and it's music related. It's about the Buffalo Philharmonic with a very special guest conductor. This article is by our friend Amber Healy. There's the photograph of the guest conductor, a lovely, lovely young woman, and the title is Buffalo Philharmonic Welcomes Guest Conductor from Poland this weekend. The Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra is bringing a little Polish flair to this weekend's performance, welcoming Polish conductor Anna Sulkowska-Migon. The weekend's performances will feature Bacevich Overture, a piece composed during the German occupation of Poland during World War II, in addition to J. Rodrigo's Concerto de Aranjuez Fares Peleas e Melisandre, Opus 80 Suite, and Boden's Symphony No. 2 in B minor. As a special offer to readers of the Am-Pol Eagle, I don't think this is going to help us because they're offering 20% discount. I'm going to give the phone number just in case. 716-885-5000. 716-885-5000 to get a 20% discount for Saturday or Sunday's performance. Originally from Krakow, Sulkowska-Migon won the La Maestra conducting competition in Paris in March 2022 and has worked with all major Polish orchestras. She is making her North American debut this year with performances in Philadelphia, Minneapolis, and St. Louis last month, and will be going to San Diego after her weekend in Buffalo with the BPO. Sulkowska-Migon got her start in music as a young girl, learning to play violin and then viola. She earned her master's degree in viola, but performances gave her a great deal of stress until she went to the podium. This will be her first trip to Buffalo, and she was pleased to learn of the strong ties not only between Buffalo and Poland, but the BPO and Polish cities. When my agent told me about the invitation, I had no doubt about coming here. I know this orchestra, and I would love to come, end quote. The invitation came from a member of the BPO, French horn player Jacek Muzik. Silkoska Migan is very happy with this opportunity, he adds. He continues, I'm really looking forward to working with her and playing, especially Borodin's Second Symphony with her interpretation. I know from our conversation that she's very excited to work with us. Let's take our first break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Well, we've got an editorial, and it's about the Dingus Day Parade. I watched the Dingus Day Parade on television, and it was wild. It seemed to me crazier than usual, and it certainly looked there were more people there to watch the parade than I had remembered. Everyone looked like they were having a grand time. So let's see what this is about. What is the next step in a Dingus Day parade? The continued success of Dingus Day celebrations in Buffalo and North Tonawanda is undeniable. Each year, tens of thousands gather in Buffalo, widely known as the Dingus Day capital of the world, to take part in a parade, enjoy polka music, and have a uniquely joyful post-Lenten release. In nearby North Tonawanda, a newer venue has drawn thousands, expanding into a full-scale community event with after-parties, live music, and local business participation. Together, these celebrations have become economic drivers and seasonal highlights, filling streets, clubs, restaurants, and church halls with energy and visitors. There is something admirable about how these events have evolved. What was a quaint Polish custom of water dousing and pussy willow tapping on the day after Easter Sunday became a community gathering at the Chopin Singing Society clubrooms on Kosciuszko Street decades ago. It has been revitalized into a regional attraction that welcomes everyone. As one observer noted, quote, everybody is Polish on Dingus Day, a sentiment that captures the inclusive festive spirit now defining the holiday. From Broadway Fillmore's historic Polonia district to Oliver Street in North Tonawanda, the day spills far beyond parade routes into taverns, parish centers, and social clubs, where live polka, traditional foods, and multi-generational gatherings keep the celebration going well into the night. Yet this very success raises an important question. What happens to the cultural core of Dingus Day as it grows? The transformation into a large-scale party, complete with beer tents, bar crawls, and casual attendees with no connection to Polish heritage, has undoubtedly broadened its appeal, but it's also risked diluting the very traditions that gave the holiday meaning in the first place. Dingus Day is rooted in centuries-old Polish customs tied to Easter, renewal, and community identity. If it becomes merely another excuse to celebrate, its deeper significance may fade. That concern should not diminish the achievements of organizers, businesses, and volunteers who have built these events into major successes. Rather, it should serve as a call to action. Dingus Day can be more than a single day of revelry. It can be a gateway. The same enthusiasm that fills parade routes and dance floors could inspire greater participation in Polish-American organizations, language programs, cultural festivals, and heritage preservation efforts throughout the year. The next step is ensuring that the celebration does not stop when the music ends. If Dingus Day continues to connect fun with cultural awareness, it will remain not only a successful festival, but a meaningful bridge between past and present. A very thoughtful editorial. We're going to jump to Polonia's calendar. Later today, Saturday, April 11th, St. John Gualbert Meat Raffle. Fraternal Order of Eagles, 4569 Broadway in Depew. Doors open at 5. The first spin is at 6 p.m., so you have time to get there. Ticket admission includes beer, wine, pop, and water. Sunday, April 12th, All Polonia Mass, celebrating Divine Mercy Sunday and Feast of St. Stanislaus. It's at St. Stanislaus Church, 389 Peckham Street in Buffalo. It's a 10:15 a.m. Mass with a reception to follow in the St. Stanislaus Social Center. The Polish American community and friends are invited to gather in prayer. On Saturday, April 25th, the Feast of St. Adalbert Mass at 5:30 p.m. at 212 Stanislaus Street in Buffalo, New York. Parishioners will also be recognizing the Broadway Market and its manager, Kathleen Peterson. On Sunday, May 3rd, Bieszczada Banquet and Polish Constitution Day celebration. A fun roast and toast banquet honoring Andy Gołębiowski. It's at Tewksbury Lounge on the waterfront at Buffalo Riverfest Park, 249 Ohio Street in Buffalo, New York. At 4 p.m. Is the start. There is a dinner buffet and a cash bar. Polish Arts Club members are $65. Non-members are $70. And I've got a phone call. For information or tickets, call 716-876-8108, extension 133. 716-876-8108, extension 133. On Sunday, May 17th, classical music concert featuring Dominika Zamata, a Polish operatic soprano trained in Italy, and the Polish Singers Alliance of America combined chorus. That will be at St. Stanislaus Church, 389 Peckham Street in Buffalo, New York, at 1:30 p.m. Free will offering. The noon mass in Polish with music by the Chopin Singing Society will precede the concert, and this is sponsored by the Polish Arts Club of Buffalo, the permanent chair of Polish culture at Canisius University, and the Polish Singers Alliance of America. Also on Sunday, May 17th, Lourdes Virtual Pilgrimage Experience, St. Adalbert Basilica at 212 Stanislaus Street in Buffalo. At 1:30 in the afternoon, you will receive the Lourdes water, touch the grotto stone. There's adoration, benediction, and candle procession to the Basilica Grotto. A plenary indulgence is granted by papal decree and Vatican recognized. Sunday, June 7th, Sgraffito and Sonata, featuring talented young people with Aria Knektos and Alicia Govindari, ages 15 and 14, pianist and violinist. Roman Hurmak, pianist, age 14. Charles Radomski, winner of the 2025 Polish Arts Club Scholarship, and more. Assumption Church, 435 Amherst Street in Buffalo at 2:30 in the afternoon, free will offering. Saturday, June 13th, New Orleans Jazz Mass, concert at 4:45 p.m., Mass at 5:30 p.m., St. Adalbert Basilica, 212 Stanislaus Street in Buffalo, New York. Music by the Brass Machine with vocalist Lindsay Holland. Lots of good events coming up. There's a photograph of Baranek and the decorated Pizanki. I couldn't think of Pizanki. The Pizanki eggs on a platter. It's a small black and white photo, but you can still see the magnificent details of the Pizanki. Polish Easter music on radio. The newest edition of the Polish American radio program features beautiful Polish Easter music and information. The show, hosted by Andy Gołębiowski, can be heard anytime at polishprogram.com. Gołębiowski is also organizing a bus trip to Toronto to see the world-famous Mazowsze Ensemble, which will be performing there on April 29th, as well as 2 tours to Poland this year. For more information about the bus trip and the tours of Poland, email andy@polishprogram.com or call 716-510-7562. 716-510-7562. Tomaszewski family coordinates first ever Dingus Day Buffalo festivities as part of a reunion. This article is by Steve Długosz. Coordinating an interstate family reunion of cousins is no small feat for the Tomaszewskis, who hail from wide-ranging areas of Chicago, Rochester, Hilton, Amherst, Lewiston, Niagara Falls, and Maine. What actually brought the family together this time around was the celebration that is Dingus Day Buffalo, with the 2026 festivities marking the first time Maine resident Elaine Tomaszewski and her large family celebrated this event. Originally from Niagara Falls, Elaine recalls her mother talking about the historical aspect of Dingus Day, but never got the opportunity to celebrate it. 20 years ago marked the first Dingus Day parade on the east side of Buffalo, and Elaine would read about the day's festivities in the Am-Pol Eagle, actually remarking that there are 3 generations of Tomaszewskis who have read the paper. It was decided that this year's Cousins Gathering would be centered around Dingus Day, and the day did not disappoint the Tomaszewski family. Elaine stayed at the Buffalo Airport Hotel, which was part of the Pussy Willow Pass, as a venue, and she enjoyed the start of the day's festivities on site with the Dingus Day Buffalo coordinator Eddie Dobashevich singing the national anthem, with the Polish anthem followed by the American national anthem. Other on-site entertainment during the day included Grammy award-winning polka musician Jimmy Sturr and the Cracovia Polish Folk Dance Ensemble from London, Ontario. Quote, "That was heartwarming," Elaine said of the anthem renditions. She continued, "As a whole, it was fantastic. Trying to get our family together can be challenging, but I'm so glad we were able to experience it. It was a lot of fun. Not only is the day a celebration of the day after Easter, it's the renewal of spring." End quote. Additionally, the Tomaszewski family enjoyed authentic Polish food throughout the day, eating at Babcia's pierogi, as well as other traditional favorites. They said that the day brought a St. Patrick's Day feel to it, with the Polish Tajski beer being featured prevalently. Elaine and her family congregated at the Pussy Willow Park party tent among several stops around the east side. The family followed up the Easter weekend Dingus Day whirlwind by visiting Apple Granny's in Lewiston for lunch on Tuesday. The weather Monday was cold but relatively hospitable to the group on Dingus Day, with little to no precipitation falling. Quote, "We're Chicago in name," some of her family, "so we know the cold." End quote. Prior to arriving in Buffalo, Elaine stopped in Rochester for some, as she says, pre-Dingus Day fun at her sister's house. She and other family members got into Buffalo on Easter Sunday, as the Buffalo Airport Hotel held a pre-Dingus Day party that day as well. The main game plan for Monday centered mainly around the Pussy Willow party tent, dancing to polka music and watching the parade, which featured more than 150 entries. Elaine added that the group plans on now attending Dingus Day Buffalo festivities at least every other year. Quote, "It was special and ultra exciting to finally be a part of Dingus Day," said Elaine. "I'm from Western New York area originally, and Niagara Falls is in many ways a melting pot of different people. It's nice to see family members from all over getting together for something like this." Well, what a great idea to organize a family reunion. Everybody now has a year, although I haven't looked up when Easter is next year, so you may have a little bit less, maybe a month left, to see if you can't organize a family celebration around Dingus Day. I think that's just a marvelous idea. And people can get together for one big family dinner and then break off and go to the different events that they would prefer. You've got parade, you've got the Pussy Willow tent, you've got church halls, you've got so many different events all throughout Buffalo and the surrounding suburbs. Okay. St. Bernadette hosts sensory-friendly Easter Mass. On Saturday, April 11th, 2026, St. Bernadette Parish welcomes families with special needs to a sensory-friendly Easter Mass at 3 p.m. The wheelchair-accessible church is located at 5930 South Abbott Road in Orchard Park. Father Joe Wolf will be the celebrant. Father Gerard Skrinsky, Catholic Deaf Apostolate, will interpret the Mass through American Sign Language. The Mass will be live streamed on St. Bernadette's Facebook page. The Mass offers a shorter, less crowded worship setting, allowing people to move freely as needed. The lighting will be dimmer, the music soothing, and low-gluten hosts will be available. Light refreshments will be served after Mass in the accessible Parish Ministry Center. Lovely church, lovely Parish Minister Center. Take advantage of that wonderful opportunity for special needs families. Another Dingus Day article. Again, Steve Długosz. Dingus Day, Buffalo celebrates 20th anniversary of parade and a wider range of activities. There is a photograph here, and I've just lost my photograph. It's a photograph of the Świeże Distilling Company display. It's black and white. Was it Krupnik? I see something pumpkin flavored. Can't tell what this is. If it's Krupnik, I'm sorry I missed it. I got some cherry Krupnik right from Poland, and it was wonderful. I can't find it anywhere here. Now I'm going to have to check this out. I digress. In some ways, little has changed during the course of 2 decades since the first ever Dingus Day Parade in East Buffalo, which started in 2007. In terms of participating entities in the parade, it's never been bigger, with more than 150 entries this year and dozens more participating in the day's events and parties. St. Stanislaus Church, Pubsky Pub, Corpus Christi Church, the Buffalo Airport Hotel, the Polish Cadets, Hofbrauhaus Buffalo, Pussy Willow Party Tent near the Central Terminal were just a few of the venues hosting Dingus Day parties with live music and other entertainment as part of the annual Pussy Willow Pass. Other traditional sites, such as the Adam Mickiewicz Library and Dramatic Circle, hosted their own parties that were separate from the Pussy Willow Pass. Revelry was had by many, and the weather held up for most of the day with little or no precipitation. Dingus Day Buffalo once again put on a show for those far and wide, celebrating what has become a huge event in Western New York. Polish DJ Red, or Greg Nowacki, who performs regularly at Polish events, was out and about, visiting the Mickiewicz Library and Dramatic Circle later in the evening. "What a day Dingus is!" exclaimed Nowacki. He continued, "It's become such a big thing in Buffalo, something that those from all over come to this city to see." End quote. Matt Fino of Amherst enjoyed watching the parade with his wife, stating that despite his non-Polish heritage, he had a lot of fun on Dingus Day. Quote, "It's definitely a Buffalo celebrated thing," Fino said. He continued, "The parade never seemed to end, just kept going and going." End quote. Babcia's Pierogi was a popular vendor, a site for hungry patrons of the area serving mouth-watering pierogi of all kinds. Many danced the evening away to the sounds of polka music. Bonnie Gregory of Evanston, Indiana, was enjoying her first ever Dingus Day experience at St. Stanislaus, where she actually ran into old friends of her late mother, who hails from the east side of Buffalo. Quote, "What are the odds of that happening?" Gregory said of her encounter with Jim and Helen Dubanovsky, who now live in Cheektowaga. Quote, "I can remember my mother talking about Dingus Day growing up, but I somehow didn't ever get a chance to go out for it, and then I moved. I made sure I grabbed the phone number of Jim and Helen this time, so I have it." End quote. Jim Dubanovsky wore all red in the spirit of the day, including a Polish and Proud t-shirt. Janusz John Zaremba of South Buffalo wore an old-timey fedora hat, having some laughs with DJ Red. Richard and Michelle Tchaikovsky of Buffalo were present at St. Stan's and recalled the Polish origins of the East Side with fond memories of the Broadway Fillmore area. Quote, "Back then, you couldn't go down the street without seeing someone who was Polish, and most people would probably know your name," Richard Tchaikovsky said of the 1950s and 60s era. He continued, "My family grew up on Shepherd Street, so it's always special to come back to this area around Easter time." Also held this year was the Dingus 5K Dash earlier in the day, with proceeds benefiting, I've got to find where this continues, and I'm sorry, here it is, benefiting the Kosciuszko Foundation of Pittsburgh. The Broadway market was bustling as part of its annual Easter weekend festivities, as many vendors were on hand. Wine and liquor samples were available during Good Friday and most of the weekend at many of the vendors, including Świeże Distilling Company, which featured delectable spirits. Its pumpkin spice flavored liquor is actually made from real pumpkins. The Broadway Market, located at 999 Broadway, is actually slated to undergo a major $40 to $45 million renovation this summer, funded by Empire State Development, the Regional Revitalization Partnership, and the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. So much going on in Old Polonia. Okay, let's see where we are here. Let's take another break. You are listening to articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Let's see. Let's jump to our buddy Tom Tatapatsky. It's Tom Talk. And there are some photographs. And the headline reads, "The Buffalo sister city in Poland is worth a visit." So I'm going to do the photographs first. These are in black and white. There is a monument to the Revolutionary Act, and it's kind of shaped like I have to say, like a spaceship, pointy at the top with a flat base, and it's because the photograph is in black and white. It's really kind of hard to tell the detail. Then there is a photograph of Rzeszów Town Square, Rzeszów being the sister city of Buffalo in Poland. There's a photograph of sister city plaques in the town square. And let's see what other. There's one for Buffalo, two for Buffalo, one, if I can make this out, Lvov, I don't know how to, and then another one that I can't make out. They're carved, and the quality of the photograph, unfortunately, doesn't allow me to make out the letters. Perhaps we'll find out what other sister cities are connected to Rzeszów. And then there's a photograph of Tom Tadapachki with Mayor Konrad Fiołek. Let's hear Tom's story. As you probably know, Rzeszów, Poland, and Buffalo have had a sister city relationship since 1975. What you may not know, however, is that Rzeszów is one of Poland's most interesting and attractive cities and a delightful place to visit. Here's an assessment from former Erie County Court Judge Michael Pietruszka, president of the Buffalo Rzeszów Sister Cities organization. Quote, "In the shadow of Poland's more famous cities, Rzeszów quietly shines as a vibrant hub of innovation, culture, and warm hospitality. Yet it remains one of Europe's most underappreciated gems. Since 1975, its sister city friendship with Buffalo has quietly celebrated what so many miss, the beauty of a place that doesn't need to shout to be extraordinary." End quote. On my trip to Poland last year, I had a chance to visit Rzeszów and also found it to be beautiful, charming, and unappreciated place. Like Buffalo, Rzeszów is a city that isn't that big or difficult to get around in, but it has many of the amenities of a big city, as well as small town friendliness. Rzeszów, it's pronounced Rzeszów, is a city of about 200,000 people located in the southeastern corner of Poland, about 60 miles from the borders of both Ukraine and Slovakia. It was founded in the 14th century on a trade route to Hungary and remains a key hub in a major trans-European north-south corridor stretching from Lithuania through Poland, Slovakia, and beyond. Rzeszów became part of Austria-Hungary after partitions, returning to a re-established Poland in 1918. Among the main attractions is the nearby Łączków Castle, an aristocratic residence which dates back to the 15th century. The well-maintained palace complex is surrounded by a beautiful park with pavilions and farm buildings. The Lubomirski Castle and Summer Palace is also extraordinary. The city's main square is quite small compared to those in Kraków or Wrocław, but still impressive. It includes the City Hall and the Hotel Bristol, where I stayed. The underground tourist route, also known as the Cellars, is an interesting walk through history. It was built over a period of 500 years from the 16th century onward, first as a refuge against invaders, and then as a kind of subterranean marketplace. At the same time, I was impressed by a modern circular footbridge in the center of the city, a distinctive structure that makes life easier for pedestrians and creates places to meet. I have to admit that one of the places that fascinated me the most was the Galeria Rzeszów. It was a reminder that the days that Americans would smuggle blue jeans into Poland in order to sell them for a huge profit on the black market are long gone. The Galleria was a huge, beautiful facility offering the kinds of goods you'd find in an American shopping mall, maybe more. One of the symbols of the city is the Monument to the Revolutionary Act, which was erected during the Communist era in 1974. The main feature of the 125-foot tall local landmark is a pair of concrete laurel leaves. One of the plaques beneath them reads, quote, "In homage to the heroes of the revolutionary fight for the Republic of Poland, the Society of Rzeszów Land," end quote. It's a divisive monument since it's a remnant of the communist era. Yet it is also a unique historic structure that distinguishes Rzeszów from other Polish cities. Before World War II, Jews were over 40% of the city's population, though few remain today. However, the city's landmark buildings include 2 synagogues. There was also a Jewish cemetery that was severely damaged during World War II and which the city is working to restore. My group had the chance to meet the city's mayor, Konrad Fiołek, and other city officials who welcomed us with warm hospitality. But you don't have to be from Buffalo to experience Rzeszów's hospitality. In 2023, the National Polish American Sports Hall of Fame, of which I am a board member, was a part of the establishment of the Avenue of Stars of Polonia athletes in a centrally located park in Rzeszów. The Walk of Fame honors outstanding Polish and Polish-American athletes, including inductees Ann Myers-Drysdale and Bob Brudzinski. The Buffalo Rzeszów Sister Cities program goes back to 1975 when it was signed by Mayors Stanley Makowski of Buffalo and Edward Bilut of Rzeszów. Sister Cities was created as a people-to-people program between the U.S. and other nations that would involve people and organized groups at all levels of society. Since then, there have been many cultural exchanges between the 2 cities. I took part in one in the early 1990s when Mieczysław Janowski, the first mayor elected in Rzeszów after the fall of communism, visited Buffalo with other officials. Working for the Buffalo Common Council at the time, I was part of a group that discussed some of the inner workings of a democracy with our Polish counterparts. There have been many exchanges, big and small, between the 2 cities over the years. One of the most high-profile ones took place in March 2018 when the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra Brass Ensemble traveled to Poland with conductor Joanne Falletta to perform at the Philharmonic Podkarpacka in Rzeszów. Among other endeavors, Judge Pietruszka has worked extensively over the years to provide his expertise in the American judicial system with local judges in Rzeszów. But if you can't visit Rzeszów, and even if you can become involved in Buffalo, Rzeszów Sister Cities. Monthly meetings are held the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. at Polish Cadets Hall, 927 Grant Street, and new members are always welcome. What a nice idea. And I'll bet you could find out what I can't read in the photograph, what those other sister cities are with Rzeszów. Okay, let's see what I got here. We have So we've come to the Am-Pol Eagle's infamous centerfold. And the photographs go on, and these are full color photographs. They're just beautiful. We have the Easter altar from Assumption Church in Buffalo, New York. That's in our Black Rock neighborhood. And this photo is by Stephen Kuczynski. We have a photograph of St. Gregory Church in Williamsville, New York. And there is the empty tomb, the statue of the risen Christ, lots of flowers, just lovely, lovely. This photo is courtesy of Reverend Leon Biernat. We have a photograph. It's a group of people appear to be on the church steps. There's a fire burning, maybe at the base of the church steps. I don't think right on, maybe on a landing. It's hard to tell because of all the people around it. This photo is by Ted Vrubel, and it's of Assumption Church on Holy Saturday. And again, in Buffalo, New York, in the Black Rock neighborhood. Photo by Peter Sloan. This is blessing of the baskets, because the baskets are all lined up on the steps going up to the altar at Corpus Christi Church in Buffalo, New York. And you can see the statues are still draped in purple. I remember how the nuns at St. Barbara's used to do that. We have priests and altar servers praying in front of the tomb at St. Casimir Church in Buffalo. This photo is by Peter Sloan. There is another Peter Sloan photograph, and it's a photograph of Christ in the tomb at Holy Mother of the Rosary Cathedral in Lancaster, New York. There is a photograph of priests and altar servers in front of the altar. This is Corpus Christi Church in Buffalo. The servers have black cassocks on. So this is either a Good Friday ceremony or Holy Saturday. Another Peter Sloan photo. And last, I'm going to guess, we have a photograph by Peter Sloan. It's a photograph of Christ in the tomb. This is at St. Stanislaus Church in Buffalo, New York. And I see the Boy Scouts that I saw in an earlier photograph with the bishop, with Bishop Fisher. And he was blessing baskets. So I'm guessing this was taken on Holy Saturday. And if you wanted to, you could see more photos online in the photos gallery. Go to ampoleagle.com. No spaces. ampoleagle.com. And the photographs do continue. These are Dingus Day celebrations. So we've moved on. We've got Peter Sloan photos, Cacofancy dancers at St. Stan's. They're right in the middle of their dance routine, and they look just charming. We have not identified, and I can't. Was it DJ Red? I can't remember who was at the M Hotel in Cheektowaga. There is a photograph of the Chopin Singing Society and their conductor. That's at St. Stanislaus Church. This looks like it's in the church hall. There is a very crowded church hall at St. Gabriel's Church in Elma, New York. Everyone dressed in red for Dingus Day. And You have a photograph of my friend Fillmore District Council member Mitch Novakovsky and Buffalo Mayor Sean Ryan. The Chopin Singing Society is behind them. And I know this photo is by Peter Sloan, and I know that this was taken when the Chopin Singing Society presented Councilman Mitch Novakovsky with a red jacket that the Chopin members wear, the classic men's red jacket. I have a feeling that it was much like a master's celebration when he got that jacket. And from the looks of this photograph, he's beaming. I think he's pretty proud of that. Photos from Potts Banquet Hall, 2 youngsters dancing, Polish Cadets Hall. That photo is by Amber Healy. We have Polish Falcons in Depew. Looks like a crowded venue. That photo is by Peter Sloan. We have the band at Potts Banquet Hall in Cheektowaga. We've got photos at Dumpolsky in North Tonawanda. There's an outdoor vendor, and then there's the indoor party at Dumpolsky. And finally, at photographs at Our Lady of Czestochowa Hall in North Tonawanda. Youngsters and oldsters, of course, everyone dressed in red. Let's take our last break. Okay, I think I have just enough time to go through a recipe from the Am-Pol Eagle this week. And it's from Polish Heritage Cookery by the late Robert and Maria Stibel. It's available at Amazon.com. And it's time for some tarts. Now, they give you a tart shell recipe here. Sift 1 1/3 cup flour onto a board. Cut in 1 stick of butter or oleo, we know it as margarine, and blend to a groat-like consistency. Sprinkle with 1 tablespoon powdered sugar and 1 tablespoon lemon juice or 190 proof grain alcohol. Work in 1 egg yolk. Quickly combine ingredients into a dough and roll into a ball. Wrap with foil, you can use saran wrap, and refrigerate for 1 hour. Now, brush your tart pan with melted butter, about 1 tablespoon all told. Roll dough, this is after you take it out of the refrigerator after an hour. Roll the dough out thin. Not paper thin, but not thick. How's that? You cut it into circles and you press the dough circles into the tart pans. And you can trim any dough protruding beyond the rims if you want to. You can use a knife to do that. Combine the dough trimmings and roll out and to cut into additional circles for more tart shells. Use a fork to, we call it docking, where you poke your fork into the dough so that the air will escape and you won't get all air bubbles in your tart. Then place tart pans on a baking sheet and bake in a preheated oven, 400 degrees, until nicely golden. I'd have to say start checking it at about 10 minutes, maybe even 8. 400 is a nice high oven. After they have cooled somewhat, carefully remove from the pans and allow to cool completely. Fill with any of the cold fillings below. Now, we have whipped cream tarts. Fill baked tart shells with cold, plain, or sweetened whipped cream, about 2 cups all told. Sprinkle each with about a half teaspoon of grated chocolate, ground walnuts, or almonds. Serve at once. Personally, I would do the chocolate and the ground walnuts, or the chocolate and the ground almonds together. That's just me. I'd also sweeten the whipped cream, even just a little. You've got fresh fruit tarts. Wash about 1.5 cups fresh strawberries or raspberries. Drain, chop, and fill tart shells. Dust generously with powdered sugar and top with a dollop of cold whipped cream. Place a whole small berry on top of the cream. It also says that peeled chopped ripe peaches or apricots may also be used. Not the right season, but save that one for July and August. I think August for peaches. More fruit tarts. When you don't have fresh fruit, fill tarts with partially drained preserves, partially drained canned fruit pie filling, or drained canned fruit, especially peaches or pineapple, topped with a little partially chilled fruit gel. Poppy seed filling topped with whipped cream is another possibility. If you glance through this chapter, or this is of their book, chances are you will run into other possible fillings that will make very nice tarts. So, you've got to start on some ideas for fruit tarts and cream tarts. Make some pudding, whether you make it from scratch or whether you make a little box of pudding. And then just get creative with adding fruit or nuts or jams and jellies or chocolate jimmies, anything you can think of to make it colorful. Marshmallows. Okay, I'm done. I think I'm going to check my time here, and I think we're just about ready to wrap up here. I hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Am-Pol Eagle. I know I always enjoy reading it because I find so many interesting events, so many interesting stories, like Tom Tadapachki's Sister City Stories, and now I know I can become a member of the Sister Cities Committee. And you don't even have to go to Rzeszów. They meet regularly. I think that's just wonderful. Okay. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the April 9th, 2026 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle. We read from the Am-Pol Eagle every Saturday at 3 p.m. Your reader has been Joanne Janicki. Thank you for listening. Do widzenia.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Grand Island Niagara County Tribune Sentinel. At 5 o'clock, we have the Lockport Union Southern Journal. And at 6 o'clock, we got the Wall Street Journal Off Duty. Stay tuned for these readings and more. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Zero, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability